Welcome back to the Earthy Goodness Kitchen. Today I'm excited to share with you all another delicious recipe. It's these amazing quesadillas and we'll be making a grilled tomato salsa plus a really tasty vegan cheese sauce. But first, let's make the filling. I'm going to start by using one leek and I'm just going to be using the bottom part of the leek as it cooks a bit quicker. The top darker green bit I'll save for a soup or stew where it's going to cook for longer and break down. I'm going to finely slice the leek so it cooks nice and quickly and goes lovely and sweet and caramelized when we go to fry it. We're also going to finely dice one white onion. Then we're going to prepare some chestnut mushrooms. These will add a lovely juicy texture and earthy flavour. I'm just going to finely slice them so they cook nice and quickly like the leeks. You could use other mushrooms such as portobello for a stronger flavour, or you could use oyster mushrooms if you wanted a more chewy texture. We'll be adding some pinto beans to the quesadillas, but for an extra protein kick, I'm going to add some grated extra firm tofu. I've just got some chipotle paste here which is starting to run out, so I'm going to wash it out with some red wine vinegar and water, and we'll be adding this to the quesadilla filling while it's cooking. And then the final bit of chopping is just some fresh coriander. If you don't like coriander, then feel free to use something like chives or parsley, would also be really nice. We're then going to heat up a medium frying pan over a high heat with about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil, and we're going to add in our leeks, onion, the thinly sliced mushrooms, and also that grated tofu. Since we're adding in most of the ingredients at the same time so it cooks nice and quickly, you want to have a nice high heat so it does actually fry and get nice and caramelized. It looks like there's a lot in the pan, but the mushrooms, the leeks and the tofu all contain quite a bit of moisture, so that's all going to evaporate and it's going to cook down. I'm also going to season it of course with some salt and pepper. So just keep frying until it cooks down and everything's nice and caramelized. Try to keep it mostly in the pan. We're then going to add in a couple of cloves of grated garlic. By adding the garlic towards the end of the cooking, it means it's going to keep its lovely pungent flavour. If you want it to be more sweet and mellow, you can add it at the beginning. We're also going to add some frozen sweet corn. And we'll let this cook down for a couple of minutes before adding in our Mexican spice mix. You're welcome to use a shop-bought one, or you can use a homemade recipe. I've got a great one in the burrito video I did the other day. Stir this in for an extra minute just to get it all incorporated so that everything is nice and seasoned. Then I'll add in the chipotle paste, a touch of water and the red wine vinegar. And then we'll add in the fresh coriander followed by 1 can of pinto beans. I really love pinto beans as they have a really nice creamy texture which go perfect in quesadillas. Then I'm going to slightly crush the pinto beans and this is going to release their starches, helping the quesadilla filling to sort of stick together and not fall out of the tortillas. So that is the delicious filling ready to go. We'll now start on the smoky grilled tomato salsa before we make the vegan cheese sauce. This recipe is incredibly simple but packs so much flavour, and we're going to start by preheating the grill to about 200-220 degrees Celsius. Then onto a baking tray I'm going to add 4 large tomatoes, 2 green chilies, jalapeno if you can find them, 2 garlic cloves and 2 shallots. Add a little olive oil and a nice pinch of flaky salt and we'll just massage these into the vegetables, getting them all well covered. I love to use shallots as they have a really nice sweet flavour, but regular onions or red onions even would work well as well. Then just place this under the grill for around 15 to 20 minutes, turning the vegetables every few minutes to ensure they don't burn too much, although a little bit of charring is definitely a good thing. I took the garlic and the chili out about halfway through as you don't want the garlic to get too black. You want it a nice golden brown, but if it's black it's going to be really bitter. Then I'm just going to remove the seeds from the chilies. Feel free to leave them in if you like it really spicy, but for me I like it a little bit milder. You can also peel the chilies and the tomatoes if you want to, but I don't mind a few chunks in my salsa. We'll then add our roasted vegetables into a food processor and blend until fairly smooth. I like there to still be a little bit of texture left. Giving the roast vegetables a little chop before you add them to the food processor can help a bit, or you could use a blender and have a really smooth salsa. I'm then going to add a few extra ingredients, starting with some red wine vinegar for a nice tang, then a good grating of cracked black pepper, followed by a nice pinch of flaky sea salt. I'm also going to add a little bit of cumin, then a touch of maple syrup just to balance the flavours, and a nice glug of olive oil. So that is your salsa ready to go. It's nice and thick, it's smoky, tangy, slightly spicy, and it's just really fresh. It's lovely with tortilla chips or with chili, and it's going to go great on these quesadillas. You could also make this salsa with roasted red pepper. You might just have to add a little extra liquid as they're not as juicy as tomatoes. For the final component of these quesadillas, we're going to make an amazing plant-based cheese sauce, starting with some soaked cashews, which I've simply drained, and we're going to add them to a blender with some water. Then some mustard for a bit of spice and acidity to help cut through the creaminess of the cheese sauce. A good 3 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. Then I've got the leftover liquid from a jar of pickles to add a nice tang to the cheese sauce. You could also use lemon juice or just some vinegar. I'm also adding a touch of black salt, which I find gives the sauce a really nice rich flavour. Then a touch of turmeric to give it that lovely cheesy colour. Then some tapioca starch to make it thick and almost stringy like a classic cheese sauce. Some pepper, a little bit of olive oil, and a nice pinch of flaky sea salt. You could make this without the tapioca starch if you wanted to. You just need to increase the cashew content to ensure it's thick enough. We'll then blend this until nice and smooth and pour it into a medium saucepan, and we're going to heat it up over a medium heat while whisking continuously. This sauce will thicken incredibly quickly, so make sure you're whisking all the time to ensure it doesn't stick. I did just add a touch more turmeric to give it a more yellow colour. And as you can see, that tapioca starch has made it beautifully stringy and stretchy, almost a bit too much, so I did actually add a little bit of plant milk just to loosen it up a little bit. I also added a little bit of grated nutmeg, which I really like in my cheese sauce. You're of course welcome to use a vegan cheese instead of this from the supermarkets. I just find they have a really artificial taste and prefer making my own cheese sauce like this one. Plus you can use this cheese sauce for other things such as in sandwiches, in burritos, on top of pasta, on chili, so many options. It's just nice to have in the fridge and it will last for a good few days. It will thicken up slightly in the fridge, but you can always just loosen it up with a little bit of extra plant milk. So to assemble the quesadilla, I'm going to brush 1 tortilla with a little olive oil, and this is going to go olive oil side down into a frying pan. Then we'll add a good dollop of the cheese sauce and spread it all around the tortilla, making sure to get right to the edges so that it sticks the quesadilla together. You can add in as much or as little of the sauce as you like, depending on how cheesy you want your quesadilla to be. We're then going to add in the filling. Once again, we'll spread this all the way around, getting it pretty much to the edge of the tortilla. Here you can see that crushing the pinto beans has made it nice and solid and together, and it's not just going to fall out of your quesadilla. Then onto another tortilla, we're going to spread the same amount of cheese sauce, and this is going to be the top of the quesadilla. Lay this on top and press it down to seal the edges. We'll then brush some more olive oil on top to make sure it gets nice and crispy. Then just put the pan onto a medium heat and we're going to cook it until it's nice and golden brown, probably about 2 to 3 minutes on each side. The easiest way to flip the quesadilla is to simply put a plate on top and then just turn it over, and then you can simply slide it back into the pan. It may cook a bit quicker the second time round because the pan is already preheated. Now you're ready to cut it into those classic pizza slices, either with a sharp knife, or I quite like to use a bread knife that actually works really well. As you can hear, it is beautifully crispy, and inside it's going to be lovely, creamy and rich. If you're making these for family or friends, I'll keep the oven on a low heat so you can pop them in there and keep them hot while you make the rest. As you can see, the finished result looking absolutely delicious. I then made some with a bit of extra cheese sauce, maybe slightly too much, but I don't think that's really a thing. Let's give these a taste. So good, incredible. That cheese sauce is so delicious. It's lovely and creamy, and it doesn't taste all artificial and fake like the vegan cheeses you get from the supermarket. Let's get a little bit of salsa on this bit. Nice. Yeah, it's really good. The salsa's got a lovely fresh tangy flavour that cuts through the cheese sauce, and then it's also got a little bit of heat at the end, but not too much. I really like having the mushrooms in there. That adds a nice chewiness and some juiciness. And then you got the sweet corn as well for a little burst of sweet freshness. Really delicious. Definitely give these quesadillas a go.